I'm Benny Politan. This is Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for watching tonight. And as we sit here tonight, 30 years ago today, Jeffrey Dahmer was arrested. There he is. Remember that face? That was in the early years of Court TV, his trial, gavel-to-gavel coverage. Well, you can watch that trial on our video on demand at courttv.com. And what we're going to do tonight in the next hour is take you back to that trial, because there were many, many dramatic and memorable moments. Let's begin at the beginning of the case. Opening statements in the Jeffrey Dahmer trial.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we now begin an odyssey, the results of which, in a short period of time, will result in a decision to be made by you and you alone as to whether or not Jeffrey Dahmer did, at the time he committed these horrific murders to which he has pled guilty, whether or not he was suffering from a mental disease, the result of which that he lacked substantial capacity to either appreciate the wrongfulness of his conduct or to conform his conduct to the requirements of law. We're going to find that when Mr. Dahmer was in 8th grade, he started into a series of sexual movements, and they took on the form of two things. He started masturbating on a daily basis, and the object of his fantasies while engaged in that self-abuse or self-conduct, or whatever it's called, as the doctors will tell you, were thoughts concerning young men of his age, young boys of his age. That even as an early teenager, he started becoming interested in bones of dead animals. He would take them home, he would bleach them, he would study them. None of this was discovered by any members of his family. None of the interests that he had were known to his family. When he was about 14 years of age, he first came up with the idea of using a corpse for sexual purposes. He fantasized either having a corpse or a mannequin to use, and it was at that time that he had his first actual consensual homosexual encounter with a peer. It was while he was in high school that this fantasy of his, doing things with dead things, started showing up when in a biology class he dissected a baby pig and took the head home with him, took the skin off and kept the skull. Three doctors are going to come into this courtroom, and they're going to tell you that their opinion is that Jeffrey Dahmer suffers from a mental disorder, and it is called paraphilia. Without my trying to be a doctor and defining it for you, except generally, paraphilia is an arousal of a sexual nature to an inanimate object, a body part, or a process. And this paraphilia, there's all kinds of paraphilias. And the doctors are going to tell you about the different kinds of paraphilias. But the paraphilia that best exemplifies the paraphilia that Jeffrey Dahmer had, which they will claim is, in their opinion, a mental disorder, which they will state in Jeffrey Dahmer was a mental disease. Their paraphilia that they found was necrophilia. And necrophilia is a disorder of the mind where there is a desire to have sexual contact with dead bodies. That's what they're going to say Jeffrey Dahmer was. He was a lot more than that, but that's the mainstay of his condition, was this desire for dead bodies, to have sex with dead bodies. Beginning when he was about 16 years of age, and this would be in the years of 76, 77, he started collecting animals, always dead animals. And there's going to be testimony as to why that's significant. Never killed a live animal, but would go on the roads and find roadkill, dogs, other type of animals that have been struck by cars that were laying there, and he would take them home, and he started having a fascination of wanting to see what they looked like inside, and he would open them up. One time, he took off the head of a dog and put it on a stake and hung it out so that everybody could see it, primarily for shock value. This obsession of this dead animals and doing things with them started becoming something that became more and more into his life, into his head. This isolated person, not the one who isn't out in the world, but isolated in his own mind, certainly isolated in his private life, who lives on his fantasies and who works out his fantasies, was a mentally diseased human being, and as a result of it, he could not have the capacity to conform to the requirements of law until, in God's providence, Tracy Edwards escaped from his grasp and the police came back and it all unfolded.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is also the opening statement time for the state of Wisconsin. As a district attorney, you have the option of either waiting until the first part proceeds or proceeding now. And I wish to tell you what the state will be showing in this case and what the basic theme of this case is. We all have sexual desires. That comes with humanity. Everyone in this room has sexual desire. Some of them vary. Some of them vary in strength. Some of them may be for a man may desire a woman. A woman may desire a man. A man may desire another man, or a woman may desire another woman. We understand that. We all have those experiences. Most of us know what we're talking about. Some people have different desires that vary from that. For some, it may be a desire to have sex with a child, referred to as a pedophile. For another person, they're taken up with a fetish. Maybe they get particular excitement out of seeing a woman's stockings or a woman's undergarments. And we understand that. And that involves consensual, not for the child, but for adults, it's consensual. People understand that. And people can either reject it or accept what another one's sexual desires are as an adult. But the key issue is you don't impose that on somebody else. And that's what this case is about. This is about a man that had sexual desires for men. Not a crime, certainly. In most states it isn't, certainly. It isn't in Wisconsin. Sexual desire for men. But he was a man that didn't want to, after having relations with such men, he didn't want to stop there. He didn't want it to end. He wanted it to continue under his terms. And that's what this is about. The decision of the defendant to go ahead, to take men unwillingly in bathhouses, and I'll talk about that, even other adults that wouldn't do as he wished, he began to drug them. And that's really what this is about an appetite, a sexual appetite of this defendant that simply would not be stopped. You're aware of that in other types of cases, whether it's child molesting cases or rape cases. We're aware of that. This is another type of case. This man's first preference was not dead bodies. He repeats that throughout his statements. He repeats that to the psychiatrists. His first preference is not dead bodies. That's a later preference. That's subsequent when he can't get people to do exactly as he wishes. Then he considers use of a dead body. You may be thinking, let's talk about his youth. You may be thinking a person that killed 17 people must come from a violent household. I think we tend to think there must be battery here, child abuse. Must be that there may be sexual abuse. Was there incest in the home? Something wrong between, something sexually wrong between the mother and the son, or between the father and the boy? Something like that going on? No evidence of it in this family. Was there some violence going on? Was he beaten and kicked and knocked around by an abusive parent? The record is devoid of that, and I don't think you'll see anything of that in this trial. You will see one of the tests we'll talk about is whether he knew it was right or wrong. Mr. Boyle did not address that issue because I don't think there's really much dispute about that issue at all. I think you will find from the evidence that Mr. Dahmer knew at all times what he was doing was wrong. This is not the case of a psychotic man that didn't know the difference between right and wrong. This is a man that had just graduated from high school in a family where there were many opportunities. And I'm going to quote from some of the things that he is quoting of Mr. Dahmer. This is a quote from Mr. Dahmer. When asked, Dahmer said, "I had been doing so many terrible things that I became desensitized. I was completely desensitized. It didn't bother me. It had to be done to dispose of the remains. The Ambassador Hotel incident was a mistake. I had to rush around to make sure that it wasn't discovered. The only way I knew how to dispose of it. I couldn't leave a whole body in the trunk. It got progressively easier to do to the bodies. It was just a part of the procedure." In other words, it agreed that a human being can adapt to anything like shooting people in combat. Went on, further said that killing, quote, "got so routine," close quote, that Dahmer was able to concentrate on his work. Said that, quote, "on purpose," close quote, "he did not ask them who they were so that he would not get to know them," quote, "so they were objects," close quote. "The focus of my life was to find fulfillment and satisfaction with good-looking guys. The cannibalism, as he termed it, and the saving of body parts were just offshoots. Just having them for a few nights was not enough. Then I got into the offshoots, and but they couldn't be kept indefinitely." And finally, he said in talking about killing, said killing was not the satisfying part. Killing was just a means to an end. I told you that he preferred live people, even preferred the zombie, the experiment there. Said, quote, "No, I didn't get a kick out of all that at all, the killing. That's why I tried to make it as painless as possible while they were asleep. I wasn't into torture," end of quote. Quote, or again, he further stated that killing the individuals and dismembering them was not part of his sexual act. This is not a man that enjoys the killing, that says, "I enjoy the killing." He had to drink to overcome the inhibitions. Found it distasteful. Psychiatrists call it aversive. But it was a means, as he put it, a means to an end. He wanted to continue the pleasure. After had them while they were conscious, had them drugged, they're coming out of the drugging, the ether wouldn't do it. Okay, you kill them, you have a couple more days at least with their body. You can do what you wish with their body. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I've talked for a long time. You've been very patient. We will put on not just the psychiatrists. We will put on numerous people that spent thousands of hours with Mr. Dahmer. And I will ask you to listen carefully to what they have to say, to listen to our psychiatrists, evaluate their competence, evaluate their thoroughness in this matter. I profoundly and deeply appreciate your attention.
Again, 30 years ago today, Jeffrey Dahmer was arrested. This hour, we're taking a look back at some of the most dramatic moments from his trial. When we return, one of his surviving victims takes the stand. Don't go there. So how exactly was Jeffrey Dahmer caught? How was he arrested, apprehended? What happened? Well, what happened was one of his victims survived and escaped. He took the stand during the trial. His name is Tracy Edwards. Let's take a listen.
You solemnly swear all the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Please be seated. Then, sir, would you tell us your name and spell your last name for us?
Tracy Edwards, Edwards.
You were in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on July the 22nd, 1991?
Yes.
And at or about that time, on that late afternoon, did you have occasion to see a person that you knew at that time or subsequently learned was a fellow by the name of Jeffrey Dahmer?
Yes.
And you came up here to testify to the events as you recall them that occurred on the late afternoon, early evening, early morning hours of July the 22nd and the morning of July the 23rd, 1991.
That's correct.
Where was it that you saw him in the late afternoon, early morning hours of July the 22nd?
Grand Avenue Mall.
And that was in Milwaukee,
Correct.
downtown on Wisconsin Avenue.
Wisconsin, correct.
Were you with somebody or were you alone?
A couple of her friends, yeah.
When he came up and started talking to you, what is it that Mr. Dahmer said to you?
He said he was just in the city from Chicago. He was taking care of her sick grandmother, I believe, in West Allis. Yeah.
And did he have any further conversation with you and your friends?
Yeah, he was just talking. He said he was a professional photographer. He usually pays people for pictures and stuff like that if anybody was interested in making money at that time.
To pose for pictures?
Yeah.
Did he describe the kind of pictures that you were going to be posing for if you chose to take him up on the offer?
He said nude.
Nude.
Right.
Tell us what happened then.
Okay, he was talking to them. Then we were going to go up the street. I was going to go home and change and everything at this time. So we proceeded. We caught a cab at the bus station, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what was your plan as you were in front of that liquor store after Mr. Dahmer came out with the liquor and you had been talking to your brother? What was your plan? What were you going to do? You say you were going to go home and change clothes?
Yeah, and eventually I was going to go over there, you know, and maybe check out what he was talking about making the money at that time. Yeah.
Was there an address given as to where you were going?
He gave them some address that wasn't correct. You know.
You later found that out?
Right, from my friends.
Tell us what happens when you get up to the apartment. Tell us what you observed, what your senses told you.
Okay, first of all, it seemed like a normal apartment. When we got inside, he turned off burglar alarms. I asked him why. First, it was a foul odor, okay?
Tell us about that. What kind of an odor?
It was just like an odor. I didn't quite know what it was. You know, he told me a sewer pipe had broke and management would take care of it. Yeah.
And did you accept that?
Yes, because I worked around at construction companies before, and when pipes bust, sewer pipes bust, they smell, you know.
So you're sitting on the couch, he brings you a beer and rum and coke, what happens?
Okay, then we just study talking and everything, you know.
General talk?
General talk. Yeah.
What happens?
Yeah, then I was just, I don't know, getting a little agitated maybe, you know, because of the smell and things. And then he threw my conversation off talking about the fish in the fish tank, you know.
Okay, when you start talking about the fish in the fish tank, do you bring that up or does he?
He does.
And what do you do when he does that?
I turn to the right, like the fish tank is here, I'm turning all the way over here.
You turn to your right to look at it?
To look at the fish tank, right.
And when that happens, what happens to you?
All of a sudden a handcuff and a knife is pulled on me. Yeah.
Handcuff is placed on your body? Where?
On my left wrist.
And you see a knife?
Yeah, the knife, yeah.
What'd you do? What'd you say to him?
I asked him what the problem was, you know, that it's not necessary to do this, you know.
What'd he say?
He told me at that point if I wouldn't do what he said, he would kill me, yeah.
What did you do when you got in the bedroom as he's holding on to the cuff and the knife? What did you do?
Studied just talking, trying to be friends with him, you know.
Did you remain standing? Did you sit down?
He made me sit down at that point. We both sit on the bed. Whatever.
Was it at the foot of the bed, side of the bed, head of the bed?
Maybe halfway between.
Did that room have a TV set in it?
Yes.
Was there anything going on the TV?
Yeah, the Exorcist movies was playing at that time.
Did you observe him watching the movie and how he would react to the movie?
Right, he would like just start rocking back and forth when he, you know, certain parts of the movie or whatever.
You have to say, what did he say, madam?
He was like chanting in certain times and rocking back and forth, right?
Tell us about his chanting. What was that all about?
I'm not even sure, sir, but it was just like, I can't tell you the words. I couldn't understand what he was saying at that time.
Can you mimic him? How it sounded?
It was like a slow slur, like, some of that nature, some close like that, I'm not sure.
Okay, did you and he move off of the bed at any time?
Yes, he wanted me to lay flat down, stomach down on the floor at that time.
Okay, now, but tell us, did he still have the knife out?
Yes, he still had the knife with him.
And what did you do?
Okay, I kind of like laid on my sides. For some reason, I guess God told me not to lay flat down or let this person handcuff me, so I didn't.
So you were trying to stop that from happening, but you got down on the floor.
Right.
What did he do?
He kind of laid across me, put his head across my chest at that point.
And what was he doing with his head?
Pardon me?
What did it appear to you he was doing with his head? What was he trying to do?
Like he was listening to my heart, because at a point he told me he was going to eat my heart at that point.
said he was going to eat your heart?
Yes, that's correct.
Did he still have the knife?
Yeah.
Where was the knife pointed?
When I was on the floor, he had it pointed at my groin area at that time.
So he still had a knife, you're on the floor. How long does he lay on top of you trying to hear your heart as you've described it?
Maybe a minute, minute and a half.
And then what did you do then?
I knew something was about to happen, so I suggested that I go to the bathroom. I had to use the bathroom at that
And
time.
what did he do?
He kind of guided me to the bathroom.
Okay, so now you leave the bathroom and what happens?
Okay, then we go back into the bedroom. You know, it was like different time spans. We were talking about him losing his job. Then he would come to the person that I was first with, you know, and then at certain points he would change. You know, at first he was telling me about how people didn't care for him and things of this nature, and I was trying to comfort him, letting him know that I was a friend, you know, that I wasn't going to try to run away from him or nothing like that. You
He
know?
had the knife the whole time.
Right,
He's watching the movie and he becomes very interested in the movie.
right.
You don't do anything, just sit there.
Just sit there and be quiet.
And then he would start conversation with you again.
Yeah, he was like you're gonna have to do this and that, you know. Then he told me at a point I was gonna have to kill him, or he was gonna have to kill me at one point at time.
And what happened then?
And then I told him, well, I was contemplating. I was asking God, shall I make my move now? And I was gonna just jump out the window. But when I got out, for some reason, I asked, could I have another beer? Yeah.
And what did he do?
And he reaches over, he guides me over and reaches in and get a beer.
He still got you on the cuff.
Yeah, and then he tells me, I told him I want to sit in the front because it's an air conditioner. And I was just going to try to jump out the window or go for the door or whatever, and because the back bedroom didn't have an air conditioner, only in the front. So I suggested we sit on the couch. I had unbuttoned my shirt to try to make him feel more at ease. And then I just sat on the couch and he just started going out of himself again. Yeah.
Going out of himself?
Yeah, he was like paying me no attention at that time.
Like he wasn't there?
Yeah, he started the chanting again, and it's like just sitting there, you know. And then I just, for some reason, I said, well, I need to go to the bathroom again, and he didn't follow me at that point. So I reached up, I got up, and then I hit him, and I ran out.
And what happened?
Then I made it outside.
So he wasn't able to bring you back in?
Bring me back in there, no.
He tried?
He tried.
And as you left that apartment, as you got away from him, I'm going to ask you again, what impressions were made on your mind by the conduct of Jeffrey Dahmer, by the actions of Jeffrey Dahmer, by the manner, expressions, and conversations of Jeffrey Dahmer that you observed? Can you give us some words?
It's like I told the policeman that this freak, this crazy guy, was trying to hurt me, yeah.
Did you run out of the building?
Yes, I did.
Did you summon help?
Yes,
Milwaukee Police Department?
that's correct.
Did they come back there with you to the apartment?
Right.
Did you eventually go back into the apartment with the Milwaukee police officers?
Yes.
And then he was arrested.
Right.
You gave a statement to the Milwaukee police a few hours later?
Yeah. Guess you could say a few hours, yeah.
Thank you.
Unbelievable story. Unbelievable testimony. When we come back, we're going to hear more from inside that courtroom, victim impact statements in the Jeffrey Dahmer trial. 30 years. Today, he was arrested.
Once I got out of the apartment, I knew right away I was dizzy.
And what happened? Were you starting to walk home?
Yes, I did.
And did you feel dizzier as you walked further towards your house?
Yes.
What happened when you got home?
I slammed the door. I couldn't even walk straight and just headed to bed.
You headed to bed?
Yes.
Did you get into the bed?
Yes, I did.
When is the next time you became conscious of where you were? Where were you?
At the hospital.
There were two of you there at the time?
Yes, there was.
Did you start drinking the drink?
Yes, I did.
What happened next?
I don't remember. I estimate that I probably had a few sips out of the drink. I know that I didn't finish it, and that was it. I blacked out.
That was one of the victims who escaped from Jeffrey Dahmer. 30 years ago today, he was arrested. You can watch his entire trial. It's available, courttv.com, trials on demand, 100% free. Just go online. You can watch the whole trial after this show ends, of course. Right now, we're showing you some of the most compelling parts. And I think for a lot of people, when they think back to some of the most gripping moments and emotional moments and moments that really got to the heart of what these victims went through and their families went through were the impact statements. Let's take a look.
I'm a J.W. Smith, brother of Edward Warren Smith. Our parents, Walter and Josephine Smith, were two hard-working Americans who raised 13 children. Of the survivors, I've been selected to express a statement of each one's personal pain. Joseph Patrick. Edward is gone, and I find comfort in these words. Whosoever believeth in me shall never die. Michael Fitzgerald. I'm sure Edward was a friend to Jeffrey Dahmer, as he was to us who knew him well. I have these pictures in my mind that are running continuously. How can anyone comprehend or come to accept that never again in this life will Edward be? Eddie's gone now, the victim of your senseless killing. Where do we go from here? We ask ourselves. Why did this happen to a person like Eddie? He gave so much and asked so little. All he wanted was a chance to be himself. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Stanley Miller. I'm the uncle of Ernest Miller. And I've been given this opportunity to come before you on behalf of the Miller family. We want to say that there's no place in a civilized society for anyone who shows no regards for life, especially in the form and manner that Jeffrey Dahmer has shown. Jeffrey Dahmer, just a couple of things about Ernest that you didn't take the time out to find out. First, Ernest was a dancer. This came naturally, and this was his dream, all through his short-lived life. Second, he had a family that loved him. He has a niece now that's 4 months old that he'll never get to hold or play or just watch grow up. He'll have to look from heaven now. I hope that you live a long life so that one day you can appreciate life. On that day, you would know my family's suffering. Furthermore, fortunate for you, Wisconsin doesn't ask you for what you have taken, but then you can only give once. I'm not for the death penalty, but you are a perfect candidate. To Mr. McCann, thank you for fighting the battle that Ernest couldn't fight for himself. As we sat back and fought the battle of faith, you taught us all a lesson on responsibility that we'll never forget. You and your staff has my family's deepest respect. To the Dahmer family, I know that there are some dark days for your family, but the morning will come. So look to the hills, and you will make it through.
My name is Dorothy Strader. I'm Curtis Strader's mother. I don't have nothing prepared to say. It's just a few things that I would like to say. You took my 17-year-old son away from me. I'll never get a chance to tell him that I loved him. I'd have a chance to tell him that I loved him the last time I saw him, which will be a year tomorrow. You took my daughter's only brother away from her. She'll never have a chance to sing and dance with him again. You took my mother's oldest grandchild from her, and for that I can never forgive you. I hope you can deal with what you've done. I'm trying hard to. You almost destroyed me, but I refuse to let you destroy me. I will carry on.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm Janie Hagan. The sister of Richard Guerrero, I am here as a spokesperson for my family. The first thing I would like to do is thank Mr. McCann and his staff for doing a fantastic job. On March 24th, 1988, Richard disappeared at the age 21. And I also want to state that my family did everything in our power in finding our beloved Richard Guerrero. He was a young man full of life and energy with the ambition to make others happy. As a loving person, he would always take the needs of others before his own. So Jeffrey, when you killed my brother Richard Guerrero, you also killed my father and my mother's youngest future. and my 3 brothers' lives, including my life, my husband, and my 3 children, will never forget this tragedy that you inflicted upon us. So, Your Honor, please, I beg you, don't let this man ever walk our streets or see daylight again. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, Honor. My name is Donald Bradoff. For the Bradoff family, as much as love in our family close, my mother gave 5 beautiful kids. We lost. He destroyed the baby of the family. And I hope you go to hell.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Inez Thomas, and I'm the mother of David Thomas. First, I want to let you know, Jeffrey Dahmer, about the pain that you caused my family. That was my baby boy that you took away from me, his sisters and brothers, and they can't hardly deal with this. He have a little child, Cortia, that'll never see her father again. She was only 2. And now she sits in the window and she asked her mother, Mommy, where is Day-Day? She called him Day-Day. Where is Day-Day? When is Day-Day coming? And I think that's a sad thing for a child to see, to go through all her life and not know her father. Another thing I want to talk about is the feelings. You know, I don't understand how a person could really harm a person and to say that, well, I did this because he wasn't my type. Well, if everybody go around doing something to somebody because they're type, this would be a sad world today. And I just feel that this man should never be able to walk the face of earth or to be able to harm anyone else again.
Hello, my name is Marilyn Sears. I'm the mother of Anthony Lee Sears, and I just wanted to know, just why, why would it be my son, I just want to thank E. Michael McCann for the good job he did. Well, you did a good job too, but I'm glad McCann won it. And I want to thank the jury, and I want to thank you, Judge. And just keep this man off the street, please.
I don't even need a microphone. My name is Rita Isbell.
No, ma'am. You'll address the court from...
My name is Rita Isbell, and I'm the oldest sister of Errol Lindsay. Whatever your name is, Satan, I'm mad. This is how you act when you are out of control. I don't want to ever see my mother have to go through this again. Never, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, I hate you, mother. I hate you. Something's out of control. Don't Jeffrey. I kill you.
That's the pain. That's the heartbreak. That is the what's caused by Jeffrey Dahmer. When we come back, we'll hear from the convicted murderer himself. Tonight we're taking a look back at the trial of Jeffrey Dahmer, and Jeffrey Dahmer himself spoke. Let's take a listen.
Stand right
here. Your Honor, it is over now. This has never been a case of trying to get free. I didn't ever want freedom. Frankly, I wanted death for myself. This was a case to tell the world that I did what I did not for reasons of hate. I hated no one. I knew I was sick or evil or both. Now I believe I was sick. The doctors have told me about my sickness, and now I have some peace. I know how much harm I have caused. I tried to do the best I could after the arrest to make amends, but no matter what I did, I could not undo the terrible harm I have caused. My attempt to help identify the remains was the best that I could do, and that was hardly anything. I feel so bad for what I did to those poor families, and I understand their rightful hate. I know I will be in prison for the rest of my life. I know that I will have to turn to God to help me get through each day. I should have stayed with God. I tried and failed and created a holocaust. Thank God there will be no more harm that I can do. I believe that only the Lord Jesus Christ can save me from my sins. I have instructed Mr. Boyle to end this matter. I do not want to contest the civil case. I've told Mr. Boyle to try and finalize them if he can. If there is ever any money, I want it to go to the victims' families. I've talked to Mr. Boyle about other things that might help ease my conscience in some way of coming up with ideas on how to make some amends to these families, and I will work with him on that. I want to return to Ohio and quickly end that matter so that I can put all of this behind me and then come right back here to do my sentence. I decided to go through this trial for a number of reasons. One of the reasons was to let the world know that these were not hate crimes. I wanted the world in Milwaukee, which I deeply hurt, to know the truth of what I did. I didn't want unanswered questions. All the questions have now been answered. I wanted to find out just what it was that caused me to be so bad and evil. But most of all, Mr. Boyle and I decided that maybe there was a way for us to tell the world that if there are people out there with these disorders, maybe they can get some help before they end up being hurt or hurting someone. I think the trial did that. I take all the blame for what I did. I hurt many people. The judge in my earlier case tried to help me, and I refused his help, and he got hurt by what I did. I hurt those policemen in the Conorak matter, and I shall ever regret causing them to lose their jobs, and I hope and pray that they can get their jobs back because I know they did their best, and I just plain fooled them. For that, I am so sorry. I know I hurt my probation officer, who was really trying to help me. I am so sorry for that, and sorry for everyone else that I have hurt. I have hurt my mother and father and stepmother. I love them all so very much. I hope that they will find the same peace I am looking for. Mr. Boyle's associates, Wendy and Ellen, have been wonderful to me, helping me through this worst of all times. I want to publicly thank Mr. Boyle. He didn't need to take this case, but when I asked him to help me find the answers and to help others, if I could, he stayed with me and went way overboard in trying to help me. Mr. Boyle and I agreed that it was never a matter of trying to get off. It was only a matter of which place I would be housed the rest of my life, not for my comfort, but for trying to study me in the hopes of helping me and learning to help others who might have problems. I know I will be in prison. I pledge to talk to doctors who might be able to find some answers. In closing, I just want to say that I hope God has forgiven me. I know society will never be able to forgive me. I know the families of the victims will never be able to forgive me for what I have done. I promise I will pray each day to ask for their forgiveness when the hurt goes away, if ever. I have seen their tears, and if I could give my life right now to bring their loved ones back, I would do it. I am so very sorry. Your Honor, I know that you are about to sentence me. I ask for no consideration. I want you to know that I've been treated perfectly by the deputies who have been in your court and the deputies who work the jail. The deputies have treated me very professionally, and I want everyone to know that. They have not given me special treatment. Here is a trustworthy saying that deserves full acceptance. Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners, of who I am the worst. But for that very reason I was shown mercy, so that in me, the worst of sinners, Christ Jesus might display his unlimited patience as an example for those who would believe in him and receive eternal life. Now to the King eternal, immortal, invisible, the only God, be honor and glory forever and ever. I know my time in prison will be terrible, but I deserve whatever I get because of what I have done. Thank you, Your Honor, and I am prepared for your sentence, which I know will be the maximum. I ask for no consideration.
There is nothing else from the defense relative to this matter, Your Honor. Thank you.
It now becomes the duty of the court to impose sentence in this case. And one of my obligations to set forth on the record the basis for the sentence imposed. In doing that, I'm required to consider the seriousness of the offenses, the needs of the community for protection from the defendant, as well as the needs of the defendant. We heard a great deal of talk in this case about mental disease. The jury found that a mental disease did not exist. I think correctly so. People are looking to me to provide a measure of protection to the community, and I don't think there's only one way that that protection can be provided, and that is to see that this defendant never again has the opportunity to walk the streets of our community as a free man. You know, that's part of judicial discretion, I guess, but it really, in this case, doesn't require a whole lot of discretion. I can't imagine anybody else coming up with any other conclusion. And I think that's been acknowledged by both the defense attorney and the defendant himself. As to count one, the court will impose the mandatory life sentence plus an additional 10 years on the habitual criminality. Count two, life imprisonment plus 10 years consecutive to count one. Count three, life imprisonment with the date of parole eligibility 70 years from the inception of that particular sentence. I don't have all the numbers that I can't work it out, but it'll be 70 years from the beginning of that sentence, which will be consecutive to count two. Count 15, life imprisonment with parole eligibility to be 70 years after the inception of that sentence to be consecutive to count 14. I believe I have, and I intended to follow the recommendation of the state. I could have said something different which would have had the same impact. I really see nobody gains anything by just to say more and more years. The important point is that the sentence is structured in such a way that this defendant will never again see freedom. That is owed to this community in order to protect the community, as well as acknowledgement of the seriousness of the offenses. Those are the reasons. The sentence, of course, is to the state prison system. One thing I didn't provide, all of these sentences are consecutive to the time he's presently serving.
Jeffrey Dahmer and the entire trial, as I've told you, available on courttv.com, trials on demand. It's free. That trial is there. There are plenty of others as well, so you can go binge whenever you want. But taking a look back on that one today, I think really important. 30 years ago is when he was arrested. It's a trial that we'll never forget here at Court TV.